over the past few years, I've been slowly moving my whole workflow over to Linux. That includes coding, productivity, entertainment, anything else you do on a computer. In this video, I'm going to show you everything which I've done as someone who was coming from Mac and the darker days, Windows, showing why I prefer Linux, everything I do to make Linux work for me, and so much more. So let's dive in. First off, why Linux? Well, the biggest reason for this is Linux is the best at programming, which is the main thing I do. And I also like freedom and open source and customization. Linux is great. Linux is based on GNU. Well, GNU/Linux is, core utils. GNU stands for GNU is not Unix, which technically when people say Linux is a Unix operating system, it's not true. Mac is Unix, Linux isn't. Unix is an open source, GNU is. Long story short, all that basically means is Linux, it's great for programming. It's so much better than something like Windows, and it's just a bit better than Mac OS in my opinion, because you can customize so much more, and it's not locked down by Apple's hardware, and you can buy like a £200 laptop, flash Linux, and boom. You don't have to buy like a £1,000 MacBook to get started. So I want to first talk about one of the biggest reasons I wish to switch to Linux, which is tiling window managers. So I'm sure you've all heard of your traditional desktop environment like on Windows, where you open a window, you click a mouse, you move around. Well, let me show you what a tiling window manager is. So if you look over here, we have a desktop right now. I know what's going to happen is tiling window managers, everything is on your keyboard. I'm going to press my keyboard, Alt Enter, and boom, my windows open up. And you can see over here there's gaps, but let's turn those gaps off for now. And you can see it automatically takes up the full amount of screen real estate. Let's say we open up, I don't know, File Manager. Look at that, taking up the full amount of screen real estate. Now let's say we open up Web Browser, taking up the full amount of screen real estate available. We can move around all these different windows with just our keyboard. We do everything, just your keyboard, no mouse involved, everything is keyboard shortcuts. It's amazing. It saves you so much time being able to do everything you want, just your keyboard shortcuts. It's something you just really effectively can't do on any other operating system. While there are stuff you can get on Mac which I've played around with, it doesn't compare at all to a proper tiling window manager on Linux. One of the other great advantages is, let's say you use a traditional desktop environment like GNOME, which you get on Ubuntu by default. You don't know what's going on in your system. Where you're connected to internet could be some really complicated, bloated way. Whereas I know I'm connected to the internet using Network Manager. There's no complicated thing which I don't know about running on my system. So now I'm going to show you some practical use cases of how I use each different thing on my window manager. So if we go over here, we have the window we were just on. So as you can see up here, we have these, well, what some might call workspaces, or by in this tiling window manager, DWM, which is what I use, they're called tags. So let me show you. In each tag, you have a keybind to quickly jump around all of them. And the way I like to configure everything is that each workspace has its separate meaning. So as an example, if I go to workspace 1, this has things like Twitter, YouTube. I mean, this shouldn't actually be here, that kind of stuff. But as you can see, this is primarily like, I'll open up Netflix, YouTube, BBC iPlayer, whatever. This is like entertainment. Number 2, this is more, work stuff. So you can tell I've got time tracking going on here. And, time tracking, Todoist, Google Calendar, GitHub, all of that fun stuff. Number 3, this is, well, I have some notes open for this exact video. But along with having that, I also have other stuff here. This is normally, I'll have my programming going on. I have my emails, I have my file manager, I have all of that going on here. 4, Spotify. But more on Spotify in a minute. 5, nothing on this screen. But the great thing about tiling window managers is on my other screen, you can't see it's right over there. I have a separate set of workspaces which I can move around or using a keyboard. So number 5 on the other screen, unlike this main screen, I have an app called Beeper, which is like an all-in-one messaging. It's great. And along with that, I also have Discord, also open on the other screen. But as you can see, you can throw things around. I mean, I do have quite a few free spaces. At number 6, nothing's open right now. But normally I'll open, GIMP or whatever here. I just opened up GIMP. I don't actually want to open up GIMP. But normally I open up GIMP, Resolve, here. But number 9, nothing's on it right now, really. It's kind of where I throw stuff. So this is the screen key running in the corner over here, as you can see. This is just a startup window I had going on. Ignore that. And this is, I don't have money. Let's ignore that. So as I said, I'd show you more about Spotify. So while I do have the GUI client installed, I can use it. I'd prefer not to. So this great thing about Linux, everything is scriptable. So I have a few different ways of interacting with Spotify. So the main way, if I press Alt-Shift-M, I have this little terminal interface open up with Spotify, where, I can move around, play whatever I want, and ignore that amazing playlist. I could do whatever I want. It's great, because I don't have to use a GUI or anything like that. It's all just terminal-based. But the cool thing is this app I use called SPT offers a CLI interface, which means you can script everything. It's great, so let me show you. If I press Windows-Shift-P, I can search for, let's say, can search for a track. And I could type, all too well, let's say. You can search for a track from here, get every single possible version and start playing it. Or obviously search for an artist, Queen, let's say, boom, and it plays just everything from our discography. Or you can obviously search for an album, so let's type in help, and we can play help now. So you can basically do all these things with CLI scripts, and this is the great thing about Linux, and these things aren't even that complicated. Let me show you. So ignore everything, only look at the bits that I've highlighted. All that's going on here is we're basically just telling it to give us an option, track, artist, or album. We pick one, and depending on which one we pick, it runs a very similar sort of script, but all it does is it will ask you for the song, artist, album, and it'll use this SPT tool to basically search Spotify for that, and all that's doing is it's going to return a list. Look, so let's say, look, track, Bob, whatever. So you can see, so over here, it will return the name of the track, then in brackets has Spotify track. This is the bit we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the track, the Spotify track, whatever, yada 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 URL, then we're going to pipe it into this function over here, which basically says playlist on Spotify. It's not that complicated, but you can also use this to do other things, such as over here. I have one Alt-Shift-S will just let me set all my playlists saved. But let's say I want to start playing one of my playlists, I can play a playlist. So let's say we want to play this playlist, and you can see everything starts playing. See, so many little things you can script together, and there's other stuff in here too, such as this one I don't really use as often, but this one, if I went to select a pre-saved album, issue is this isn't properly updated with everything. So this literally just uses a text file with my album list, but then I have to manually update that using another script which I stole. And there's other stuff you can do up here, such as, get the status of the current playing songs. You can see over there, toggle the play, keyboard shortcuts, go back and forward and play, or with keyboard shortcuts. And once again, there's still more amazing things you can script, such as normally when you plug in a screen or whatever, your computer will arrange it, and then sometimes you have to go into settings. You might go into something like a render, which is basically like your traditional, moving around, move around your screen, whatever. But normally, most of the time, you have preset configurations. So I like just to have a script, Windows Shift M, and I can quickly then change all these configurations. I'm not going to press it now, so we'll stop the recording. But let's say I went to laptop, it will just be my laptop double monitors left, which basically means both, this horizontal, one monitor vertical, or just single monitor. It's great, so you're able to quickly move everything around without having to, go through GUI interfaces or use the goddamn mouse. And there's even more you can do, I'll show you, such as D menu once again, which is an amazing utility, which all it is literally just takes the standard input and you give it standard output and it will just return that. It's an amazing little utility which gives you so much of. So let me show you as an example. If I press Windows Shift Space, I can enter a note and that will be added into my inbox in Obsidian, used with the current date. It's really simple. This is literally all it is. It literally just gets the inbox, it asks for what you want to enter, goes into the inbox, adds that note. It's really simple, yet it's quite effective and works really well. Or another example is I can press a Windows space and add a new task to Todoist. Very same sort of concept, just uses a CLI tool. Speaking of Todoist, what if I want to get all of my to-dos due for the day if I have to go to Todoist? Well, I can do that, of course. Here you go, here's a list of all my to-dos for the day. But let's say I've completed one of these. If I press enter, it would tick it off my to-do list. I'll press enter now. If I go back over here, there you go. Once it's synced, it's no longer there as the task has been done. Along with that, you want to change your wallpaper. So let me show you something really cool. So look, let's look over here. So right now we have this sort of color scheme going on. You can see what's going on here. We have a cool color scheme whatever. So if I press this button, which opens up my image viewer, to change our wallpaper, I don't know if you can see, it's a bit glitchy sometimes with ST terminal I use, but there you go. The color scheme has all changed, and it basically all these different apps, you can see everything changes, which is cool. And once again, it's just using a thing called PyWall, all scriptable. So, I can select my wallpapers, this Windows W, change like this, Alt-Shift B if I know the name of the file I want, or there's other ways, I could go over here, change background, change it over here. I need to actually fix that, so that shouldn't be doing that, or change background random, then there you go. And then, speaking of scripts, as you can see up here, these are all, once again, scripts. I don't know why it says my volume is so high, it's not actually that high. These are all, once again, literally just scripts, so let me show you. These are all just scripts running over here. For example, the Spotify one, it's just basically taking the status bin from using this thing called Spotify CLI, and we're telling it to update every second. So there's no really way I can make it where I want to change song will update. But volume, that never updates itself. Volume only updates. And then I press my volume change keyboard shortcut, and it sends a peak signal to DWM blocks, tells it to change battery life, that updates every 100 seconds. Weather status, my aircon status, which is quite cool, getting that. My network going on. I used to have my light status in here, but I can see my light status quite easily myself, but my to-dos for the day, my unread emails, and then also over here I can have my time and date and stuff. Now that I've gone over some of the window manager stuff, I want to go over some of the more applications and stuff I use, and there'll also be a few more script stuff coming up, but we need to go first into some applications. As I'm pretty sure you can tell so far, I like to do everything I can with the terminal, so let me show you how I do all of this. So one of the most common things you need is a file manager. So all I need to do is Windows O, opens up my file manager. I can create files, test.txt, hello world, I can save that, know, when I have this file, I can move it to my documents, go over here, delete it, over from over here, to my documents now, over there. I could do everything all from here. Here's the greater thing, is that LF once again is 100% scriptable of everything, so let me show you. So I open up over here, this is the configuration file. This allows things to work, such as tells how to open up files, how to view files, and all of that. A lot of this stuff, is quite simple stuff you expect to find, but there's some stuff here which I think is quite cool, such as over here, we have move to, so all that's happening is basically in my dot files, I have this thing over here called bookm, over here on the side. This is basically like the keyboard shortcut, and this is the path, basically saying whenever I type G_D, go to my downloads folder. The cool thing is, every time I save this, I have this other script run called bookmarks, and what this does is this basically tells it to update, basically when I run it, it runs up this --lf option, which basically updates my lf shortcuts. It's just --shell, which updates my shell shortcuts, which means lf over here, I can go GV, GD, GH, whatever, to jump around. And in my shell, I could do, sorry, that's home. I could do the same sort of thing. If I add a B in front of everything in my shell, because sometimes you have commands that overlap, like GC, GH, or whatever. So there's a B in front of everything, but I could just jump around. But I have this other little thing where if you type in bookmarks, let's just get, I can spell, it literally just returns all of them, which means obviously we could pipe that into somewhere like FCF, get a list of all the bookmarks, and that will just return it. So what we've got to go over here is when we want to move a file, so let's say we create a file, whenever I press to move it, it will literally just list as favorite locations, and I can move it. Don't tell me over there, it's moved one of those files, which is quite cool. Is once again, everything is scriptable, and if I really wanted to, I could go over here to my backgrounds, and I could even set a background. So let's set that as the background. There you go, and I've set my background. Speaking of scripts, quite basic info over here. I'm just using ZSH. Could use Bash if I really wanted to, but my opinion, ZSH is better. It's a bit more modern, got some more features, but I still, I still write all of my scripts in Bash, not POSIX compliant, because I like some stuff Bash does. Once again, prefer to do everything via the terminal, so my email client is Neoma. It's quite great. I could do everything I want from here. I can look at mail, can reply to mail. Don't want to actually send that. No. Look at my archive, look at my inbox, look at my trash. I can look everywhere. I could do what I want. I can switch to my Gmail. This is basically my server. But the great thing is, once again, scriptable. So let me show you. I wanted a way to be able to ban spam, so I made this script, which will literally just get the email and give me the option block the domain or block the user on the domain. And all it will do, it will just block the domain, and then it will SSH into my server, run a script to block the domain. Or what it will do is it will SSH into my server, but just block the email, not just the domain. And all that's all. Once again, that's just bound to the B key over here, and I get the options. There's so many little great things you can't really do very well on things like Windows. So everything here is scriptable. And some quite basic info. The browser I use is just Brave. It's the best one I found. It's got some good ad blocking. It's not got tracking. It's got everything great. It's even got a built-in tool window. But let me show you a little tip if you're on Linux. Let's go over here and you open up your Etsy host file. Over here, it's basically taking the 0.00. It's saying if I go to this URL, redirect it to nothingness. And you may be thinking, what the hell is this URL? I don't know. This is literally a giant list I copied offline, which basically blocks a bunch of ads and trackers. It's great. It's even if I'm not using Brave for some reason, it helps you get around the new YouTube ad blocking stuff, but don't tell anyone I said that. Leave a list below of like all the URLs you can copy. I wouldn't recommend typing these out by hand. Once again, everything's terminal-based, which means my preferred text editor is Vim, of course. Well, NeoVim to be more specific. But the reason for this is everything is customizable. I mean, let me show you. If I just, let me go over here, we open up our Vim config. I mean, not that one more, but as you see over here, there's loads of different files we can add, customize everything going on in our Vim experience, and this is why it's great. I mean, hey, look, I didn't actually make it, but I actually did want to make a thing to control my aircon from Vim, which is possible if you know what you're doing. But like, I'll show you, like SPP. Don't actually use this, but I could control Spotify literally from Vim using multiple other plugins. Vim is amazing, and it's so highly customizable. What ties into Vim is a thing called tmarks, Town Multiplexer. So let's say I create a tmarks session right now, and let's say I ls whatever, close the terminal. This session is still running. If we run tmarks ls, we can see it's still running. We could do tmarks attach, and look, we've got back to the session even though we closed our terminal. But where this comes really handy is using this script which I stole off the Primogen. All this does is this basically gives you these directories, whatever, yada yada yada. When you press the key bar now, you get all of your directories. So let's say I go to my website over here, I can open this up. I can use the telescope and Vim, jump to a different Git branch, open up a file, whatever, do whatever here, but then the great thing is I can open up another project. Let's say I'm working on, I'm trying to think of a project I have on my computer now. Let's just type in Tetris. Apparently I started making a Tetris, don't even remember doing that. Let's see. okay, there's literally nothing here. But then I have this other project, I can see the other projects, or I can jump back with keyboard shortcuts, I can jump back with typing. There's loads of different ways I could do tmux. So there's so much you can do with tmux. You can script the ever living I mean, like, you can even make a script, when you run your script, it can start up, 5 different terminal windows within tmux, and you run your server, open up your code. It could do everything. Tmux is amazing. Along with tmux, quickly, the terminal I'm using is the SD terminal. Once again, another one of the suckless utilities. ST unpatched isn't very useful. I just stole someone else's build, don't remember who, it changed a few things to fit my needs, and now it's my preferred terminal. I have tried Alacrity Kitty, but ST, like it says, is the simple terminal, and it just works the best for me. And as someone who's recently been trying to switch everything to Linux, including my creative stuff, that means I've been getting rid of Affinity Photo, Final Cut Pro. So, for ages I've been using GIMP, but I've properly been using GIMP now on here for all my photoshopping needs, and I'm using DaVinci Resolve as it's free. Not open source, sadly, but it's free to get on Linux, yada yada yada, just to edit all my videos. And as long as you have a script, to convert the MP4s or whatever, Resolve to be able to handle it, you're fine. Let me just show you quickly. If I jump in over here, all I have is I just have this little script I stole, which basically takes looks in your file you run it on, and it will just it will take your MP4 files, convert them into the correct thing which Resolve can read, and it will put them in a different folder called transcoded. Then you can put that into your timeline instead. And quickly, I won't bother going into full detail right now as it's weird to explain, but just to manage my dot files, I'm using GNU Sto. You can find my dot files down below, by the way, if you're really interested in them. But everything is just managed with GNU Sto. You can look it up online to see how to use it. Of course, once you install it with, your standard repos, it's just sudo apt manager, just, if I can spell Sto, there you go. You can obviously just type in the man page, see the man. I'm pretty sure it's a TLDR. I can spell. Yeah, there you go. See, there's even a TLDR. So you just look in the man pages, you just look at the TLDR. There are loads of different ways you can learn about it. That is going to be it. I hope this comprehensive look into my Linux has been helpful for you. I know this is kind of different to my last few videos. There will actually be a video coming out some point soon to do with my laptop, which I use to run everything here in Linux. So keep an eye out for that. But I hope you enjoyed this.